My name is David Beto. I'm State Advisory Chair of Alabama. Also, my day job is a history professor at University of Alabama. Talking about defining civil rights in the 21st century and what government can do, maybe we can go back to what Frederick Douglass recommended in a very famous speech where he said, "Get out of our way." And one example that we found in Montgomery is where black property owners are having their homes demolished by the city of Montgomery, allegedly because the homes are blighted, although I've seen evidence that that is not always the case. And this is one of the most fundamental rights. It's guaranteed by the 14th Amendment, life, liberty, and property, due process. And we see, in my opinion, the evidence indicates, are being routinely violated for black property owners in the name of encouraging development, not only Montgomery and elsewhere. So I'd like to see if there's anyone that thinks that that might be an area to move to, since we talk about government really can't do much about the family, but it could certainly do something about this kind of thing, and enabling people to just lead their lives and own their homes and make their own way.
Yeah, I'll respond to that, because another example where government can do something by getting out of the way is where, for example, African Americans say, well, look, we need to use public funds to create schools that are going to deal with the special needs of African American children. But the government says you can't do that because it violates the Equal Protection Clause. You can do it, you can have single-sex schools, but you can't have single-race schools because you paint them all the same way. But maybe we can make some distinctions between schools which are designed to deal with the special problems of, say, African-American males, and that seems to be the root of the problem, what people seem to be suggesting anyway, and for government to get out of the way by not bringing lawsuits to suggest that, well, this is a violation of the Brown principle. Yeah, I mean, so the example you gave, there are plenty of other examples where government can make a difference, and even make a difference by just getting out of the way. Ma'am?
Hello, I'm Brooke Cook, and I'm an intern at the Heritage Foundation. This is a question for you, Mr. Brooks. I was wondering, the figures you cited how in Jim Crow days, the disparity between white and black income was 16,000 and has grown to 20,000 today. I was wondering if that takes into account inflation.
Yes, it's over a 40-year period, and it was after Jim Crow that yeah.
And then I was wondering what that is attributed to, that income disparity. Is it racial? Are you saying it's racially discriminatory?
No, I'm saying that it's a problem. All I'm doing is describing the problem, okay? And I want to get clarity on the problem. Again, I don't think that if you define the problem simply as racism, you don't get anywhere necessarily. If you define it as a problem of classism, you don't get anywhere. What I'm suggesting is that you have to clarify the problem, clarify what it is. That's the problem. There's this long-term disparity which is getting greater, and the question is, what sustains it? Is it something internal to African Americans? Is it something external? I'm raising the issue. I'm not trying to decide the issue.
Okay, thank you.
I'm told that we're near the end. I'm going to, unfortunately, just limit it to one other question, if it can be very brief.
Thank you. I'm George Lanou, Professor of Public Policy, University of Maryland. This is a question for Professor Brooks. You, in your poker analogy, did not play out all of the various policy implications of it, and fair enough. You don't have time to do that here. But I want to ask you about one existing program and whether you think it fairly represents the kind of public policy that might follow from accepting the poker analogy. And that's preferential contracting programs at both the federal and state and local level, where in order to get the preferences, a business has to be owned by a socially disadvantaged person, and all minority group members, that is all non-white minority group members, and all women are automatically considered socially disadvantaged from the time they're born until they die. I wonder, is that a fair application of the poker?
Yeah, it's one application, but it's not one that I would subscribe to, because your question assumes that the race problem for all racial minorities is coextensive, and I don't think it is. For example, Asians, they have the highest family income and the highest college participation. if you look at one of the statistics I have, the Asian college participation is way up here, and the whites down here than Latinos and blacks. So and also with respect to Latinos, immigration is a big issue there. It may define the race problem for them, but not for African Americans. So I would want to disaggregate the groups a bit more than what your question suggests.
Will
Okay,
there be
we're gonna-
time for members of the media, which I am, to ask any questions of the panel?
You can ask a little bit later. We're going to have to conclude this panel. The next panel will convene in approximately 5 minutes, and we'll deal further with family structure issues. Let's give a round of applause to the panelists. What?